What? You were going to stay with us? I didn't make a reservation for you. My mind goes blank to hostility. We're on a family vacation, which I didn't even want to go to in the first place, to a fancy hotel. My husband pretends not to be aware of her animosity toward me and walks away. We'll see you at the checkout, Emily. They leave me behind and disappeared into the luxurious hotel. My name is Emily. I finally turned 30 this year. I'm a stay-at-home mom living with my husband Spencer, my mother-in-law Kate, and my son Sean, who turned 3 this year. Spencer and I met on a blind date 7 years ago and ended up marrying. We've been living an ordinary life without any big quarrels and are known to be a couple very much in love among the neighbors. 2 years after we got married, we had our son. Spencer was busy with work, but he actively helped me with childcare. I had no complaints about him. We were living in a normal family environment, but after the birth of Sean, it started to deteriorate. 6 months ago, my father-in-law passed away, and Kate was to move in with us. The last time I saw her other than at the wedding was when Spencer and I visited her to announce our engagement, so it had been a long time since. My first impression of her was not a very good one. My father-in-law, on the other hand, treated me kindly and gave me a very good impression. Spencer, are you sure she is the right woman for you? I'm worried she is going to give you a hard time. I remembered she blatantly spoke her mind. Spencer tried hard to make her accept the marriage, but the way she looked at me was not very nice. We managed to get her approval after some persuasion from her husband and Spencer. I still think that she shouldn't have openly made such remarks in front of me to this day. I was worried if we could get along once she moved in with us. I tried to be positive and switched my mind to do my best with her. When she and her belongings arrived at the house, I helped her unpack. She was very kind to Sean, who turned 3 years old. While she took care of him, Spencer and I unpacked. I asked him to take care of the heavy stuff, and I organized the small things. The unpacking went smoothly, and there was only the small stuff left for me to do. This is supposed to go over here. I wonder what kind of education you went through. It was a fake plant that could be put anywhere. I put it there to improve the atmosphere of the room, but Kate pointed it out to me. Although I was displeased with the way she reacted, I tried to think she was just particular and moved it to the spot she wanted. She looked after Sean for a little while and started watching TV without offering to help me. I didn't even have time to pay attention to him, but she scolded me to watch him. I had my hands full with him and unpacking, but I couldn't ask Spencer, who was taking a rest after carrying heavy things, to help me out. I finished tidying up with mixed feelings. I tried to think that she was feeling unsettled about changing her living environment and pushed away my frustration for her. After that, her criticism continued every day. One morning I woke up early, prepared breakfast for all of us, and tried to take a rest. The house is messy. If you have time to rest, clean it up. She never gave me time to rest all day long. While she always criticized how I did things, she was hardly ever at home during the daytime, let alone doing anything herself. I was getting mentally strained by such a life. I decided to talk to Spencer about her. She must be having a hard time since Dad's gone. Take it easy on her. He wasn't any help. Even though he knew how she treated me, she didn't intervene. I used to put my hands on my forehead in bed and drifted off to sleep in despair every night. Regardless of my feelings, my 3-year-old son cried at night. Unable to bear the fatigue and sleepiness, I couldn't bring myself up, and Spencer rushed to his side. Kate must have woken up by the noise and shook me violently. How are you still sleeping when your son is crying? How can you leave it to Spencer? It's a woman's job. She yelled at me for being exhausted and unable to move. I didn't want to make things worse, so I quietly got up and went to Sean. I ended up getting no sleep that night. Spencer was off that day, so I was thinking about what to cook for lunch. Spencer is off today, so I will make something. Kate started preparing. When she put the meals on the table, one plate was missing. It looks like one portion missing. I made it for Spencer, who works hard, and my grandson. Of course there's none for you. Make your own. I was absolutely mortified. I had been wondering if she was bullying me, but it became clear at that point. It wasn't that I had been unaware of it for a long time. I couldn't stand her without thinking that she was just being hard on me to make me a better wife. If I didn't think that way, I would have broken down. I couldn't talk back to her, so I confided in my friend after I dropped off Sean at daycare. That's definitely bullying. How are you holding up? I told the details to my best friend from childhood. She listened attentively and showed great concern that I finally broke down in tears in front of her. I had been fighting against my frustrations and suppressing them at home for so long. She encouraged me by saying that I was doing my best and that I would be okay. I will help you. I will figure something out. We parted as we both had things to do at home. Even though we didn't talk for very long, I felt lighter. There were a couple of things my friend suggested. One was to put a bug in the house and record what was said on a daily basis. I bought a cheap recorder on the way to pick up Sean and then went home. Kate was out as usual, so I immediately set it up in a discreet place. In the middle of cleaning, I picked up a piece of paper that had fallen out of a drawer in Kate's room. When I opened it, I saw a personal loan agreement, and the amount was $20,000. I couldn't believe my eyes, but I thought this might be useful and put the paper in my pocket. After a while, Kate returned, and then Spencer came home just in time for dinner. We sat around the dinner table with the usual complaints from Kate. Oh, by the way, my friend gave me a discount coupon for a one-night stay at the 5-star spa hotel. The fact that she brought up the subject suggested that she wanted to go. Spencer was very much in favor of it, and my son was also excited. I honestly didn't feel very enthusiastic, assuming it was going to be a horrible experience for me. Well, since you are here and you are always working so hard, you can come along too. I couldn't believe my ears. I was astounded to hear it from someone who had been harassing me so much. I would think about it. Maybe she meant well. I didn't want to think that she offered with malice. She wanted to book everything the next day. I couldn't sleep that night, trying to decide by the next morning, so I sat on the sofa for a long time contemplating. About the trip, Sean wants to go too. Mom won't watch him, and it's hard to take him with me alone, so I want you to come with us. You don't help me when I'm being treated so badly by your mother. I don't want to go. Spencer couldn't say anything to that. Of course, I didn't want to do him a favor while he turned blind eyes to my suffering caused by his own mother. He pleaded with me to join, so I gave him a condition. Just as well, for starters, have a look at this. I found it when I was cleaning Kate's room. I showed him the IOU I had in my pocket. He was stunned with disbelief on his face. He couldn't believe that his own mother had a debt of $20,000. Can we help her pay this off? As her son, I can't just leave it as is. He asked me because I was in charge of managing our money. Of course, I declined it. I had no good intentions to help someone who mistreated me. I did understand his feeling as a son, but I could not accept him. I beg you. I want you to help me with this and the trip. Only if you accept my conditions. The first was that when Kate mistreated me or over-criticized me, he must intervene. The second was that I was to make a rule for her, write them down on a piece of paper, and post them all over the house. If she could not agree to these conditions, we were going to kick her out. I proposed to Spencer, and he agreed with them. We decided to start this after the trip. I asked my friend to post the rules in the house while we were away. We were to act as usual until the trip was over, and then we would drop the bomb. Spencer agreed to this, and I decided to go with him on the trip. The next day, I let Kate know that I was joining them and kept chanting in my mind to be patient for a little longer. On the day of the trip, Spencer took everyone's bags, and we were about to leave the house. "You don't need to carry the bags. Let Emily do it." Kate's bully started right away. He glanced at me apologetically. I obeyed her, thinking it was better not to cause any animosity for what was to come later. The bags were so heavy that it was hard for me to carry them alone. On top of that, I had to take care of Sean. I supposed I wouldn't have any energy left to enjoy the hotel. We took Amtrak a little farther away and then drove over a mountain road to the hotel. Both the exterior and interior were very beautiful and luxurious. Sean was very excited and went to look here and there. Kate looked around taking in the decor and went to check us in at the front desk. Afterward, I grabbed my bag and was about to go to the room. What Kate said then blew me out of the hotel, literally. "Were you planning to stay with us? I only made a reservation for the three of us." I had no idea what she was talking about. I was at a loss for words right then and there. The only reason she invited me on this trip was to use me as a porter. She had no intention of letting me stay with them from the beginning. Gradually, understanding the situation, I asked her, "Then, where should I sleep?" "I don't know, and I don't care. Why don't you just camp out in the wild around there?" She asked me to join and then told me I had to sleep out in the woods. Something was seriously wrong with her. I couldn't help but feel enraged. I was about to yell at her, but she and my family disappeared into the hallway. "I will see you at the checkout time, okay?" I stood in the lobby for a while and left the hotel. I knew there was a catch, but I didn't expect to be forced to camp out. I was on the verge of tears. All I got from Spencer was a message saying I'm sorry. I couldn't even bring myself to reply to that. It was past noon when we arrived, so I took my lunch at a random cafe and found an open field where I could see the night view well. As soon as I arrived at the field, I received a call from my friend. "Hey, how's the trip going? I did what you asked." I contacted her in advance and gave her a duplicate key. I told her what had just happened. She was furious and offered to pick me up, but I declined. I was thankful to her, but I was sure Kate was going to get what she wanted if I had left. I couldn't foresee what she was going to do to me later. After hanging up the phone, I decided to consult a lawyer just in case. I sent him my evidence as I intended to sue her for emotional abuse if she was to be kicked out after the trip. If it was determined that there was no premeditation, I couldn't file a claim, but I had concrete evidence that should have proved it. The lawyer assured me that I could if I decided to. After the call, mental and physical exhaustion hit me hard, and I laid down on the fresh grass. I ended the day in an open field with a beautiful night view and chilly breeze. The next morning, I met up with Kate and my family just in time for the checkout. "Emily, did you stay in the woods? I bet you didn't even clean yourself. You're so filthy." Spencer tried to stop her, but she quickly changed the subject. By the looks of things, He must have told her that forcing me out was too much. She bragged happily that the hotel was very nice. Sean's smile was my only console on the way back home. When we got home, Kate immediately shouted, "What is all this? Don't play with me!" There was rules posted all over the house. She must have read some of them because her face turned red and became furious. Then, Spencer showed the IOU to her, and her red face immediately turned pale. Her mouth was agape in confusion. At first, she tried to deny it, but when he grilled her, we found out that she had been on a spree with her husband's life insurance. When the money ran out, she couldn't stop the habit and borrowed it. Spencer and I proceeded as we had discussed from there. "I can't have someone who has debt living with us. I would ask you to leave. Of course, I have proof of what you have done to me, so I will sue you." I played the recording and let her listen to it. As she listened, her face became white as a ghost, and she begged me to let her stay. I told her that she could stay if she abided by the rule and refrained from aggressive behavior. She eagerly agreed and apologized. "I'm very sorry. Please help me. I beg you." I never thought I would ever see her in this state and was very satisfied. When I thought it was finally over, my knees buckled and I fell to the floor. Spencer sat me down in a chair and then started yelling at her about the debt. I guessed his respect and trust for her had crashed down. She must have never imagined that there would be a day when she was to be scolded furiously by her son and frantically apologized. After it was all settled, she kept silent and stared at the sky for the rest of the day. The atmosphere of the household changed drastically the next day. I woke up early in the morning as usual and prepared breakfast. It must have become a habit or just forgotten, but Kate immediately made a nasty remark. What was different from usual was a change in Spencer's attitude. "Mom, we just talked about this yesterday." He spoke out in a firm tone, so she choked on her words and went to sit on the sofa. I almost laughed a little at the scene, but I held it in and went back to preparing breakfast. Spencer felt guilty about not being a protector and couldn't stand strong against Kate, who raised him. I knew in my heart that he was a kind man. There must have been something on his mind to turn blind eyes, so I didn't blame him. I really needed him on my side, but I couldn't hate the man I fell in love with. He apologized to me in tears. After that, he started to watch over me, and Kate's attitude toward me improved by the day. She still pointed out some minor things to me, but I didn't feel any malice from her. I hoped she was going to stay like this. I could finally live with ease and keep a healthy mind. The debt payment was $700 a month, and Spencer and I cooperated to pay it back. As Kate was too old to work, I got a part-time job and was balancing work and home. She was responsible for taking my son to and from daycare and was doing a good job. Because of her bad habit, Spencer managed her finances. My family changed it little by little for the better. No matter how much you love your husband, if your mother-in-law is terrible, you might think of divorce. I couldn't bring myself to do that, but if I had separated earlier, I didn't have to listen to terrible remarks about myself and camp out in the field. Fortunately, I found an IOU that helped me rebuild my family. Maybe I was lucky. I'm also grateful to my friend for listening and encouraging me. Without her, I had no one to vent, and for sure, I would have had a mental breakdown. I feel from the bottom of my heart that I must keep cherishing our friendship. Whenever I remember the pain I have been through, I get teary and pat my own shoulder. At least, I have tried my best to hold my family together. Even when I was depressed and had no motivation to cook and clean, I completed my tasks so that everyone can have a decent life. I've tried my best to make sure that my son is not inconvenienced. That's why the sense of accomplishment fills my heart. I may not be able to forgive Kate, but she would always be my mother-in-law. I would like to treat her kindly. A few years have passed since then, and my son has grown up to start preschool. We are almost finished paying off the debts and are considering moving to a new house. Kate has started to help me a little since then. My relationship with Spencer has become better than before, and we are even thinking of having another child. My family is already very stable, and I am very content now. I will continue to do my best for my family